without further ado, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning for this session, predominantly around Fabric, but effectively it's around getting value from your data, which obviously is a big topic for a lot of organizations. My name is Michael Lonnan, and I work within the Cloud Services marketing team, and I'm joined by Ben. Say hello, Ben.
Hello everyone, I'm Ben Coleman, part of the Cloud Services team here in HSO UK. Nice to meet you.
And I'm also joined by Tousif. Say hello, Tousif.
Hi everyone, Tousif Zafar. I'm the CTO here at HSO. Been here 20 years. I look after all our technical areas, including data and AI.
Good man, thank you very much. All right, so I am not the brains, as you can probably imagine. I work in marketing after all, and I just color stuff in. So I am going to very quickly pass you over to Ben and Tousif, who's going to take you through the content. I've just got a very simple, very quick, very simple and easy peasy ask. Just to show us a little bit about yourselves, I've got a poll there. So if you could just hold your phones over the QR code. I've got 5 questions within that. Very, very, very simple, just so we can know a little bit more about who you guys are, what you're up to, what levels you're at, where you work, and those sorts of things. 5 questions. I promise you'll take you no more than 1 minute while I blabber on about the housekeeping part. All right, so there you go. There's my first ask is I've got 5 questions. If you could just fill that in by hovering over the QR code, I would very much appreciate it. Just tells us a little bit about you. I would ask you to connect, and if I was any kind of organized marketing person, I would have put the link to our LinkedIn profiles in here, but I haven't. So once I shut up, I will pass you over the LinkedIn links in the chat. The third thing is please do keep yourselves on mute. If there are any questions that come in, we'll get those, and you can come off mute and you can ask those questions if I don't capture them in the chat, which leads me nicely on to the fourth thing, which is questions. All right, so although we've got a bunch of lovely content to take you through today, if you have any questions at all that you want to ask, you want to pose, do put them in the chat. I will capture them and I will raise them with the guys either during the points at which they're talking, or I will hold it until the end when we do a bit of a Q&A session. So at any time, any question comes to mind, do put it in the chat and I will capture it. And the fifth thing is that I will share with you the slides after this. So that's always a question we get. And yes, I will share that with you almost immediately after this. Again, if I was any efficient marketer, you'd get it within the hour, but don't count on that. And the sixth thing is I will also send you the recording. So we'll get the slides, we'll get the recording loaded up. There'll be no details of yourselves on there, so you won't see your names or anything like that, but you will just get the content as well. So you can get that and you can rewatch it and you can share it back and you can hover over the QR codes, and if you didn't feel like you filled them in time, and that is it. So we're going to take you through a really, really quick, easy, simple agenda that everyone loves. So Ben's going to take you through a bit of an intro. He's going to bring you into the topic of discussion for today, give you a bit of a flavor, whet your appetite before Tousif then picks up and then goes into detail and shows you a few demos just to show you the practicalities of the things that Ben's going to take you through. And then Ben's going to pick it up at the end and close the session off with a nice, easy, simple next action, next step for you following this content, because we want to keep things really simple. We don't want to confuse things. We don't want to over technical things. That's not even a phrase, but you know what I mean. We just want to keep things easy just for you guys. All right. So without further ado, Ben, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen, my friend, we will get cracking.
No problem at all. I think it's sharing, although it's not showing on the chat. Let me try that again.
It was showing.
Oh, was it? Okay, yeah, great. There you go. You should be able to see who HSO is. Can you see that? Yeah.
Yep.
Marvelous. Right, about HSO. So I've worked here for just over a couple of years now. We're a big, happy family. We're a global organisation focused on business transformation. Founded in 1987. One of Microsoft's biggest global partners. I suppose it's useful to know. We work across a number of different areas. So if you look on the outsides of this slide that you can see here, you can see the various different kind of buckets that we put our customers into, for want of a better word. So financial services, non-profit, retail, professional services, manufacturing and government. Now, sometimes that can feel a little bit like we've overgeneralized, but it's kind of a way of working our products and understanding particular areas, and then we drill down into those subsections. And then in the section in the middle, you can see all of the various different things that HSO is trusted to deliver all around Microsoft technology. So if you came to us and said, can you do this in Google, we'd say no. We are focused entirely on Microsoft and the expertise around that, and the various different technologies that you can see, and focal point, security, infrastructure, digital and app innovation, data and AI, modern work, and business applications. One of the things that we notice is that even though, say for instance, what we're talking about today is data, you can't ignore the rest. Data has tentacles towards all of those other aspects as well. You can't ignore security, for example, and there are other technologies that dovetail into it that you overlay on top of that. And we'll talk a little bit about that, especially with the subject of AI coming up in a bit. We're really proud to be able to go anywhere within the Microsoft product set. So we're one of the few organisations that carry all of the qualifications in Microsoft solution areas, which is great to know. So as you start your conversation, perhaps with us, about the data and your journey in data, you can have the confidence to know that we'll not have to leave you if you need to stray anywhere else. We have that capability across the product set. One of the top 3 global Microsoft Dynamics 365 partners, great accreditations there. So you can be reassured to know you're dealing with an organisation that's got a real great strength in depth, both across our UK practice. We work in operating companies across geographical territories, and also our global community of colleagues that we've got across the HSO global organisation. So it's good to know. 2023 Partner of the Year as well. And now what we're doing is we're drilling down into and focusing into the kind of the area that we're focusing on today, and data falls within our cloud services team, where you can see those 3 pillars: the digital and app innovation, data and AI, and infrastructure, security, and modern work, and all the various different capabilities within that. This is a part of HSO that I have worked in for the last couple of years, as well as doing things on the wider product set as well. And we've got a great UK-based expertise centre that focus around all these different technologies. Right, so moving on to the subject in hand, we're here to talk about how you're going to turn your data into your most valuable asset. And a thing that might be reassuring to a lot of the people that are on this call, we're going to talk about kind of where do you feel you are on this journey. But as a starter for 10, perhaps be reassured knowing if you feel you're not in a great place in terms of your data and how you've got control of it, you're not alone. We see a lot of this and help a lot of organisations to get out of that 72% and into the remaining quick maths remaining percentage left, 28% that would actually have visibility of your signals across your services. So that statistic is worth bearing in mind when we look at these next pieces. We're looking here at what we see as being customer needs, and the most basic is to have what we describe as modern reporting, analyze data coming from multiple sources and in variable formats. Being able to take that first step towards that and then move to real-time analytics to be able to get insights from your data in real time. And then from there to move to advanced analytics and AI, needing to reduce downtime, leveraging predictive maintenance and so on. And then finally moving towards automation and agents. And these things layer on top of each other. You don't do the last step before you do the first 3. That's the way we see it here. We'd like you to take a moment to have a think about this. So this is a graph that we've got here. You can see difficulty along the x-axis and value along the y-axis. And perhaps have a think about where you are on this graph in terms of your organisation. So you've got information to optimization up here. So the first kind of low left-hand corner we're looking at is what happened. So you're being able to have descriptive analysis of something that's actually taken place. The next step on here, why did it happen? So being able to diagnose what has happened. Then we're moving into the more difficult and the higher value capabilities of what will happen. So being able to predictively analyze what is going to happen, and then finally prescriptive analysis. So how can we make something happen? And this graph, it's a good to sit back, maybe grab a coffee and have a think about where you think you are on this line. Typically, we find a lot of the organisations that we start a conversation with actually are quite surprised that they are in the bottom low left-hand corner of that graph. We'd be delighted to work with you and find ways of actually moving you up that graph. Now, how data platforms and AI platforms work together. So one of the ways that we see of turning your data into your most valuable asset is actually enabling you to move into leveraging AI technologies. Now we can see identity, security, and networking there, and then the data platform section on the left-hand side. I sometimes wonder about whether this should be almost layering on top of each other. But you can see analytics and integrations there on the left, and then the AI platform with the same aspects there on the right-hand side, moving into agents, using agent applications and automations there. The two very much work hand in hand, but you can't do the AI piece without the data platform. We've often got organizations coming to us and saying, right, we really want to move into AI and leveraging AI technologies. The finger always points very strongly back to looking at your data platforms first. That needs to be in order before you actually start to make those inroads into the AI technologies that you're looking to leverage. Quite often, it's such a big subject at the moment, you can't move without hearing about AI in the media. Microsoft's investments in the UK, for example, being the latest thing with Trump's visit and all of those pieces. And then senior executives coming to us and saying, right, what are we doing about AI? Immediately, that finger just immediately points back to your data. Get your data in a good place, and then you can start to build and leverage those technologies. Right. That's at this point, I'll hand over to Tasif. If you can share your screen, Tasif, and you'll move into the data platform and demo.
Hi all. So just to continue on the foundation that Ben just put out there, that when it comes to AI, which is obviously on everybody's agenda today, the biggest factor in the successful rollout of any AI solution is data. And what I'm going to try and do is that over the next few minutes, try and explain the couple of trends that are happening in the market and what's going on in the space that, in this data and AI space, really. And also then I'm going to try and help talk you through some examples so you can see when you have a good data platform in place, how AI solution can help you with your day-to-day job. And can really revolutionize the way you go about your day-to-day activities. So I think the first thing I would like to start with that is, generally speaking, the current state of play today is that we are all the business, every organization that we speak to, they have sort of the bottom end of this pyramid in place, or some shape or form, where you have a number of business applications that that are able to take your sales order, your customer services systems, or maybe your manufacturing or warehouse environments and all of that. But in the last 4 or 5 years, the thing that we saw that a lot of organizations were moving into and were implementing was the second layer on the top, which we're calling automation layer. And this is where either system integration or some sort of automation around the workflow and processes was put into the application. But one thing that hasn't changed for many, many, many years is that every business process starts with human, finishes with human, requires human interaction and intervention to be able to be completed. Now, which obviously by definition creates bottlenecks, which also create, reliance and dependencies on the personalities and individuals, and have, and possibly even compromise the consistency of how a task is done. Now, what's happening now, as we see in the, with the data and AI and the platform that can support these advanced AI solutions, is that now there is another layer has been introduced within that pyramid, which is what we, an agentic layer, a layer that allow you to move the human from by default position to by exception position. And what does that mean? That means is that every process that would end up with a human to deal with could be dealt with by the agents before they decide, or only escalated to a human where there is an exception. Very simple scenario. Might not be, you can't, this has been around for a while, but just get the point across. If you receive an invoice from a vendor and you have already received the products and products have been accepted in your warehouse, and they are aligned in terms of the quality and the quantity and the price and everything, do you need as a human to actually approve that invoice? Right, that could be dealt with by an automation, or if you got a lot more complexity, then probably by an agent. And human should only be sort of involved into that process if there was an exception. For example, quantity doesn't match, or the price doesn't match, or there is an issue with the quality that has been provided, and so on. But with that in mind, what we're seeing in the happening right now is that we got 3 types of agents that are being introduced in the wider this business application ecosystem, where you have first priority agents that are normally embedded within the business application or the solution that you are using. That could be, for example, Copilot for Outlook. That is, if that's where you spend most of your time, and that could also be a Copilot within a finance and operations as a ERP or your sales systems. Then we are also seeing the third-party agents are also being introduced, where you have a number of these agents that are being brought in by the ISV solutions, if you are using them. And then the last one is the custom agents, and that's where we're going to be trying to focus over the next few minutes. When it comes to the business application, I think you all recognize probably this type of a flow, a data flow, where you have data flowing from the application layers going into more of a consolidated data warehouse type scenario, or a data lake, and then turning that into an insight, allow you to to get to slice and dice your data and get the different view and signals from your data. Now, this has been in that sort of a situation for a while, and while lots of organizations are currently still not have that 100% put in place, and this was the stat that Ben showed earlier, that that even up to quite a significant number, over 70% of organizations don't think that they are capturing all the signals and capitalizing on those signals when it comes to business decision making. Now, what has happened in the last few years, and especially in the last couple of years with the introduction of the Gen AI especially, is that now you actually have 2 other consumer of that data layer that then enrich the business processes and help the humans to do their job in a much more much more productive way. Is that now you have agents that are consuming that same data layer and taking actions on your behalf. Remember the previous example that I talked about, where agents are taking control of things, making decisions. Of course, in order to make those decisions, they need to consume the similar information and the signals as you as a human would have. Now, with that in mind, we are also seeing an additional layer here, where we have the advanced analytics, with the combination of large language model, are also now becoming consumer of that consolidated data, to make sure that we could do pattern detection, the predictive analytics and all those things that were on that Gartner graph that Ben showed earlier. Now, what is happening, which is, I think, is probably a significant shift in a way in the last few years, is that this flow from business application data to insight and agents more recently has been quite a straightforward one. But actually what's happening right now is that this is also changing and turning into a different direction as well, which basically very straightforward, at the same time is revolutionary, because what it's doing is taking that data and then surfacing those signals, whether through the agents, whether through just the insights or intelligence or actually even a proactive recommendation to a user back into the same business application or a process that you deal with. And I will show you a couple of examples of this in a minute as well, so just to get an idea of what it could feel and look like. And there are three main sort of experiences when it comes to this reversed sort of a ETL process, for those of you who understand and come from a data background, where you're actually taking the insight and agents and bringing them back where the data originated from. So completing that full 360 loop to allow to signals to be consumed where the action happens in your solutions and application. Now, the major difference with this scenario, this sort of approach, is that you're not only making just data available, you're making data available in a context of a business process. So if you are about to create a purchase order and you want to know which is the best vendor to buy this from, who can provide me within this lead time, and I can get the best price, and also the tariffs and this and that in place, and being able to get that insight and intelligence from your AI agent, who is actually, by the way, trained your own data set, your own experience of that vendor, your own experience of those products and services and so on, to provide you that context in that application at the time when you are taking those decisions. That's what is revolutionizing your business. That's what's going to change your business from to the kind of next level of growth. Now, not only they are in the context of a particular job that you are performing, but is also personalized as well to you as an individual, for your persona, for your role in the organization. Of course, it's also very much in that predictive analytics sort of a scenario. What the Ben showed you, the top end of that x-axis, y-axis graph, where you want the ability, how can I make this happen? That is based on that signals that comes from that consolidated data that has been refined, has been cataloged properly with its security and all of those things in place. The whole theory of that is to turn the insight into actions, your ability to take timely actions to get the desired outcome. Now, so just to kind of summarize before I jump into the demo, there are two things happening. We are moving. There's a shift that is where basically human by default into agents by default and human by exceptions, which obviously going to free up the most valuable asset of any organization, which is the individuals that are dealing with this data, the human, to do the more value-added task rather than the boring, mundane tasks. The second, change that is happening in the data space is that with the Gen AI especially, historically the data warehouses or anything around data has been more or less restricted to structured data set, and structured data obviously coming from let's say a SQL database or an Oracle database or whatever. Now what we're seeing is that it actually includes all sorts of signals and all sorts of data, not only the structured data, but also your unstructured data, for example, your contract documents, your PDF, your Excel, Word documents, and all of that, but also your semi-structured data that could be, that could be imported through an API and so on, could be an XML and all of those things, and also any other kind of signals that could be coming, for example, the signals that you could get from Microsoft Graph as an example. So when you are making a decision, you are not making a decision just based on the data that has been captured. It could also be the data that is coming, has been captured in your emails, in your contracts, and so on. With that in mind, obviously, first of all, the overall data state is now pretty much end-to-end, can take care of every source. And then also the consumers have been extended, as I talked about, and which then obviously turning into those business outcomes that we talked about. So those two trends are basically what's happening in the market. So I'm just going to try and show you some of the examples to see when you have, when we talked about, for example, one of those agents, what does that agent experience feels like? Now, the first one that I'm going to show you, it's an agent. Let me just pick up the right one. Okay, so this is an agent that has been, it's actually built in Copilot Studio, but in the background, it is connected to your data source. This could also be, connected to a data agent that is coming from Fabric, which has access to not only one ERP system that you might have. It could be your ERP, CRM system, your structured, unstructured data, your signals from your e-com system, or whatever. So it can take basically anything and everything and make that available to you. Now, one of the things that has been, for many years hasn't changed is that our ability to ask the questions to the data and get the insight and intelligence. So, something basic and simple as, for example, show me the 3 departments where the cost has gone up compared to the last compared to the last 3 quarters and so on. And its ability to then go away and find out and come back with an information to say, hey, look, these are the departments where, the information, where the cost has gone up, and providing you the information in that human structured way. So a couple of things here to highlight. First of all, this information is happening, this action is happening in a very a natural way, similar to think like you have an internee or a secretary who you go and I say, like, could you go and find this information for you? But it's timely, it's there. You don't need to know the data structures. You don't need to know the relationship between your different entities as well. That get taken care of by the data agents that, from your data platform. Now, not only that, but if you are from the finance background, for example, you would also know that the data is not only always about, tell me this, tell me that, but is also the kind of a forecasting or what if scenario. So for example, what would be the total cost of our rent if it's increased by 10% for the rest of this year, right? So now you would see its ability to actually go away and do some, find the facts and then do the projection to give you the right signals, what it could look like. So if I show you, I think I have run this example before. You should see that it should come back and give you to say, hey, look, if that happens today, this would be your overall increase from July to December or whatever period that we are running in. Now, not only that, but also I think that one of the key factors that we are seeing, and that's one for me is probably the most valuable, where you are able to combine the signals from your structured data and your unstructured data. Real example. We are in a services business. Every service business would have contracts that they need to adhere to. Let's just say if you need to travel for work and there is an expense policy that is specific to that project. Now, and then you have the actual expense transaction that would be very structured in your timesheet system. Now, how could you combine the two, to make sure that you are compliant with your with that contract? And in order to do that, that's probably a job for somebody to actually find that information and apply a bunch of queries and filtering and all of that to be able to get that information. Or you actually can just simply use these data agents combined with the large language models to be able to then provide you that type of information. As you can see, it just came back and provided you the bunch of transactions that it thinks are not aligned with this. Now, now let's just change the gears a little bit, and I'm just going to show you another example of how you can combine the structured and unstructured data. This is very similar. You have UI for AI, Copilot Studio, or Studio-based agents that's embedded into Microsoft Teams, which, by the way, can also be consumed through the number of other entry points from Microsoft in the wider Microsoft stack that allow you to be able to talk to your data and then do the things that would have normally taken somebody quite a bit of time, because it requires you combining signals from all sorts of places. Now, this is an example that I just ran yesterday, but I can just rerun it for you just to get an idea that you could just ask an information about a project status. Now, this agent has been given very clear instructions. When you talk about project status, here are the 6 or 8 things that you need to go and check them in that way against your structured data set, and then come back to me with a summarized view. Now, something like that, if you have to do this today, would require either you need to create a static report and build those rules, but those rules could change. They could also be dependent on the statement of work or a project or all of those things. So they are not always very practical to be able to build this. So in this example, this agent has done is gone away, looked at that report, applied all those rules and regulation, and come back with a summary in a very user-friendly way to be able to get that insight that we want. Now, what we are also seeing is that the agents and the data is being more and more for compliance purposes as well. you could be asking question around for example, how many of these projects, let me just remove that, put the other one in. I always tend to have all the kind of demo ready written, because otherwise I end up making a pickle. So if you think of that, there is a certain type of analysis that you want to do that is a KPI for your department or a function to say, in this case, NBC stands for the new business committee, saying, look, if there are any project that is over 200K but haven't been approved by NBC, now its ability to go away and find those signals and come back to me and provide that information. Again, you are making these things available and accessible where the action happens. Now, these are just the only few things that are making a difference when it comes to the kind of a modern approach. As you can see, this came back and provided you the name of the projects and the value, etc. Let's just look at some a completely different view. You've seen in my presentation, I mentioned a couple of times this concept of an immersive experience. What is that immersive experience and how it changes things for us? Let me just talk you through for this. What you're seeing on my screen, again, it's a Power App that is, and the background has access to a data platform where it's taking a bunch of signals. It also have access to some unstructured data. So think of a scenario where you have lots of unpaid invoices, and you have let's say a credit report from a third party, which generally is a PDF or an Excel file or a CSV file or whatever. And so there is a different type of formats that you can't really design a solution for, because the format can change. So you have structured and unstructured data, and is being given a very specific brief to perform an action. An action in this case was that if you see a very high risk customer, block that customer in our ERP system for any further sale. And if you are not sure about it, come back to us, come back to me as a user, human by exception, so I can then decide what action to take. And this example is gone on the right side. You see a fully autonomous behavior where it's taking signals and deciding on your behalf to say, these particular customers with these invoices, I'm going to block them. Why you have blocked them? You can click on it. You can see the details, how the decision was made. But that actually has a fully autonomous behavior here. Also done, a specific business task for you on your behalf. Of course, you can overrule and so on as well. On the left side here, you have a semi-autonomous behavior. And now this will depend on the process maturity, the maturity of your data, maturity, and the trust that confidence that you build in that solution as you kind of use them and move forward, is to decide that which of these experiences you would like to implement. Generally, we see people starting with on the left side, i.e. human in the loop, versus and then moving towards on the left side. So what you see here is that the same agent has not taken an action, actually came back to you to say, look, this particular customer is actually in court for a non-payment. And he's not sure because the credit score probably is good, but why they are in the court? Because obviously that's an observation. So he's thinking, right, okay, there might be an issue here, but I'm not sure what action I should be taking here. And you can approve or reject. Now, if you think of that, all of this happening on the back of the data that has been prepared for a specific business process, that is business ready data. So it's not your raw data, it's the business ready data. Bunch of structured and unstructured data has been put together, and also the agents that have been given very specific task to perform. Now, if I just carry on with the last few slides. Okay. So what you just seen, this is sort of a direction of travel, and we are seeing organizations who are striving to get to that point, which is great. But what we are also seeing that, what are the things that get in the way in a way. So that's the timely availability of the data. Data is not accessible. Data is not in the right format. There are multiple versions of the truth because there are data silos. How you bring them all together. There are issues around the data quality. And I'm sure if you work in this space, this is not news to you, and this is something that you are very used to of seeing on a regular basis. Now, if I just carry on to the next slide. So what is the answer, right? I'm just going to build this whole slide and then explain, how we see this is moving forward and what's happening in the data platform space. Is that, first of all, on the left side, as you can see, this is not only the structured and unstructured data only. Now you have unstructured data, you have your own custom solutions that you might have built. It could also be the signals that are coming from your from your IoT or any other devices that you might have. So it's literally anything and everything that produces data is now part of this new modern data platform concept. And of course, then the ability to ingest that data, ability to then securely save that data, process that data, make it business ready, and how you make it then available for the consumer. That the sharing aspect, where you have data catalogs that are secure by default, and where the data has been anonymized, where the data master data management concept have been implemented. And not only that, but the data, because in every organization there are different ways how the data will be consumed. It's not always just the dashboard. Sometimes it's the data that needs to then fed back into the apps, the example that I shown earlier, or could also be data that you just make it available through the data agents to your large language model, then to be able to process the data and so on. So this is sort of it's in a way is a solution looks like. Now, for those of you have obviously, one of the reasons that we are doing this conversation is to talk about Fabric and how Fabric plays that role. And Fabric, in many ways, is the single unified data platform that provide you all of this information, capability in one place. It's the data analytics platform that handles your entire data workflows, from collecting, processing, building reports and dashboards and agents. It also obviously combines the data ingestion, transformation, and real-time capabilities are also using event routing, for example, and so on to provide everything. Now, of course, those things are, when in terms of the consumption and output of this, that you could make that data and data catalog and all those reports and agents, all of that are role specific or specific to a task. And OneLake provides you the ability to access. Firstly, store centrally all of your data. Sometimes you can create copies. In some cases, you might want to do that. Other cases, you could do mirroring and all sorts of advanced concepts that allow you to access the same data without having to create a duplicate copy. And then obviously then ability to then put agents on top of that, so you don't have to write programmatically the reports and the dashboards and the SQL queries or whatever to find the data. It can do this for you just by converting the natural language request into in the background into a SQL query, let's just say, and run it for you and find the data, understanding the data relationships between different entities and so on. And then I think the fun part, especially with Fabric, is it's sort of a native ability to connect with a wider Microsoft stack. So if you create a data agent, as an example, into using Microsoft Fabric, after going through all that consolidation and cleaning and so on, that data agent can be consumed and made available through Copilot agent, and that agent can be embedded into your application, can be called from your O365 app. And you've seen an example that I've shown where it was actually embedded within Microsoft Teams. You could be then using that as a third person in a conversation between two to find the information to make timely decisions. And I think the list goes on and on. I mean, the Fabric obviously is a SaaS solution, simply of such platform, but not only that, the consolidated licensing aspect makes it even more attractive and easier. Now, last slide or so. So when we talk about Fabric, here are a few things that Fabric allow you to do in a very simplistic way. And there is lot more. And I think if you talk about any modern data platform, this is pretty much a done deal, right? If you have one of those things missing, you should be questioning, the data platform and its ability to support your business. Obviously the quality, the security, your ability to identify where the data came from, all the way tracking it back to the source, being able to self-serve using the advanced concepts like data catalog, and being able to then combine different entities to get the signals that you need. But at the same time, respecting the organizational security rules, etc., being able to classify data, for the privacy and security and sensitivity and all those sort of things, etc., and much, much more, right? I think this is where Fabric really shines and provide you that kind of enterprise solution. And I think that's from me. I think you are up next.
Thanks, Tissi. I'm just going to jump back to this little exercise we did earlier, asking us all to have a think about where we are on this line. Each one of these steps is hugely powerful when you think about it, and it all depends on your data and being able to be confident in what you can do with it, whether it is that more simple stuff of descriptive analysis going through to the diagnostic, but also how powerful to be able to predict what's going to be happening for our organizations, what huge strength that gives us in these uncertain times. And then you move into actually being able to dictate what happens. This is all stuff that actually a good grasp and a good solid understanding of where you are with your data and a good strategy that surrounds that. That's a position that can put your you can put your organization into a position of great strength by having control of your data and understanding it well. One of the things that we can do that HSO has delivered for a number of different organizations is to provide data maturity assessment. So one of the things that you could look at is to have a conversation with myself, or reach out to Michael, or indeed to Sif, to explore whether this might be a good thing for you. The great thing is, whether you're quite a long way along your journey or just at the start, this can actually be brought in as an almost a litmus test. Industry experts that can come into your organization to give you that confidence to know where you are and to know where you need to get to and how you get there. On the right hand side, we can see how we go about it. So first of all, that point one is we carry out in-depth workshops where we sit down with you and your internal experts to actually understand what we're doing and how all of that works. Then moving on from there, you consult with our technical and industry experts. And then we put together some recommendations, and we play those back to you in a presentation. All of this can be recorded. Obviously, we use the tools that are available to us to enable us to review back, share that information with other colleagues and that sort of stuff. And also, finally, provide you with documentation that actually gives you clear guidance and a good, solid strategy that is aligned to your organisation. It's not just cookie cutter that we just provide for everyone. It's actually tailored towards your particular organisation. So you get on the left-hand side a number of different things: solution tailored to your needs, architectural designs, strategy, governance plan, project plan, and so on, and a roadmap for scalable and secure digital growth. It covers all of these points. I'm not going to list them one by one. We'll just we'll rattle through this slide because I'm conscious of time. We've got 15 minutes left to actually bring all of these different elements together. And yeah, I'm just wondering if there's anything that we particularly would want to pull out. It draws on the point I was making before, that data doesn't just stand alone. The governance aspects and security are really important to actually be looking at as you go through these processes. There are aspects like what are the project management requirements that you need and those sorts of things. All of these things are covered in a complete process that we've taken a number of different organisations through, and so I've got a really proven, nailed down approach. And the main output from it, other than those playbacks and the actual interaction that you get with our experts, is the actual report that you can then take and work on at your own pace. So there is no necessary urgency other than that which it flags that naturally organisations want to move forward with these things and take action based on the assessment. But you can take it at your own pace, knowing where you are and what your current situation is.
So all I want to say is thank you to both Ben and to Steve for taking time to take you through the content today. I hope you found it useful. I really do. And the QR code is still there. And just to reiterate, as I said at the beginning, I'll send you the slides and I'll send you the recordings. You'll get the value after this as well. And again, if the data maturity assessment is of interest to you, anything else that we've talked about, you want to have a chat around it, we'll happily talk the hind legs of a donkey when it comes to data. So with that analogy, I think I'll say thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, enjoy the rest of your weeks, and hopefully we'll see you very soon. Take care now, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks all.
Thanks all. Bye.